Hey, everybody, how are you doing? Hello, hello, hello to all of you. Let me put a pause on this music. How's everybody doing? Oh, my goodness, I'm so excited to be back. I'm excited. Let me see if I can pull my light over just a little bit. So excited to be back, and I welcome you. This is Bravo with Sheila. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh my goodness, I am so excited to be back and to chat with you. I have been off. Where have I been? I've been off somewhere, right? But you guys were always in my heart. And so here we are back again, Bravo with Sheila. Those of you, if this is your first time here, welcome, welcome, welcome to Bravo with Sheila. Ladies, let's chat and chat with the Bray brothers. Yeah, I had to add that. I must acknowledge that. And so I welcome you. This is where we move you from pain to power and from power to victory, because the chat is my co-host and they give information, they ask questions, they share, and we are one. We are one. So welcome. It's been a great day. It's been a great time. Oh my, yeah. I should have let that thing play a little bit more. There's actually some lyrics to that song. It's called Jesus is King, and then that's the instrumental part. One day I'll put the uh the track up with the lyrics and my grandson rapping in one of the parts of the song. So pretty cool, pretty cool, pretty cool. So it's been a great time. I am here, you are here, and I'm excited to chat with you and to be with you. Let's open up Bravo. Welcome back. Welcome back. I'm so happy to be here. Welcome back. Come on in, hit that like button, and let's get into what we need to get into. I'm working on getting some new lighting, so bear along with me. I thought maybe I could turn this light on over here, but I thought it might be a big glare, so I didn't want to do that. But I do need some more light in the room. And so let's see if I can pull this up a little bit more, and I am getting some more lighting and just working on things. I already have my Rhodes Pro 2, hooking that up. Tried to do it today, but it didn't work out too well. So I have to get someone to help me hook it up. But I did get through the whole process. So we're changing things. We're moving things. And Nay blessed me when we celebrated our first year on YouTube in the YouTube streets, and they blessed me and helping get this new microphone, this Rhodes microphone. It's not up yet, but it will be soon. So things are shifting and changing, and I just wanted to say welcome back. I hope that you can see me and that I'm not too dark. I'm afraid to turn this light on back here because I don't want the glare to kind of distract you. So if I'm okay, I'll just keep it moving. I just wanted to really chat tonight about something that's been on my mind. And things are always on my mind, and I wanted to share a little bit about bandwidth. I wanted to talk about bandwidth. Sometimes people regard that to so many things: social media, cell phones, different things. We know that bandwidth is about capacity, signals, all types of things that cause you to be able to get information, right? And so when you think about bandwidth, you think about, and I think about it on different levels. And tonight I just want to share a little bit about it, about what is your bandwidth. Do you even know your bandwidth? And this is not just for women, this is for men as well. We as people must understand and know our bandwidth, right? Sometimes that gets lost in the source because of so many things that goes on in our lives, so many things that we have to work through. I don't know how I have this thing on me right here, but it's going to stay like that. I don't want to do anything crazy. Anyway, so I wanted to share a little bit about that, because we tend to, as we grow and mature, we tend to overload ourselves with so many things, even from a child, right? We feel overloaded. We get overloaded with information, overloaded with circumstances and situations. And so that overload, it continues to move and progress within us. And a lot of times we do not pay attention to what we've consumed in terms of emotional, we're not talking about food, but consumed in terms of information, in terms of relationship and things that we have done or not done, for lack of a better term. And so our bandwidth, we want to know, I want to know, do you know your bandwidth? Do you understand what that means? Do you understand that saying no is okay? Do you understand that no is a sentence, right? And when we don't monitor ourselves and take care of ourselves, whether it's our mental health, physical, emotional, then we get overloaded. And so we need to understand how much we can take in at a time, right? Sometimes it's just too much at one time. This lighting is bothering me, but I'm going to humble myself and be okay. I'm tempted to turn this light on behind me. But anyway, I wanted to share about, do you know your bandwidth, right? And as you get older, as you mature, you tend to see things through different lenses. And when that happens, life begins to shift inside of you and outside of you. It shifts. And if we're not in touch with ourselves, if we're not in touch with the shift, right? Even shifting from middle school to high school to college, there's a shift with the information and with the things and life circumstances and things, that places we find ourselves into. And if we're not careful, we can crash, or we can begin to make choices and decisions not from a healthy place, but from a place of habitual things that you've learned to do by habit. And so knowing your bandwidth, no matter what age you are, is very important, because you have to be kind to yourself. And I know that all of us have been in situations, if we've made mistakes, but I say mistakes are what we do, they're not who we are, right? But the thing is, as we trip up on certain things in life, right, or have a misstep, we don't just say, oh, I almost fell. You have to just figure out, okay, what was that trip up about? What happened in that trip up, and what did I get from that trip up, right? So I wanted to talk a little bit about your bandwidth. I want you to know your bandwidth. I want you to be mature enough and be okay to say, my son Vaughn, oh, bless you, Cindy, bless you. Bless you, those of you in the chat. Welcome. And so I wanted to talk to you about how life will attach so much to you, and we have so much information in us, despite your age, despite where you were raised, despite the culture of the place that you lived in. You get information, we get signals, and we respond to those signals as we mature. A lot of times we respond from places that are not healthy, out of it being a habit, or we were taught that. And sometimes as you mature in life, you realize, oh, I didn't learn this piece, I skipped over this piece. And you learn that by association and being around other people on different levels, right, and different places in your life. And you can be in a group of people and a conversation can go on, things could be happening in the room, and suddenly you might feel alienated or not a part of the conversation, because sometimes we miss information based on where we've been. And when we pay attention to how we're wired and what we intake, then we can pay attention to, what space do I have for a particular thing? Do I have the bandwidth to deal with this brother? Do I have the bandwidth to deal with this sister? Do I have the bandwidth for this conversation that appears to be leading nowhere, right? So bandwidth, I want to talk about emotional bandwidth and how we say no to certain things, because no to me is a sentence, and I had to learn it the hard way. Welcome to the chat. Before we get into it, let me talk to my Bravettes and the Brave Bros in the house. Of course, we have the one and the only NA. All right, there she is, Ninya, I'll say. I got that part right. And she's saying good evening, good evening. Here goes my sweet Von Eric, who's always here and with Ine and all of us traveling in these YouTube streets. He's saying hello, ready for your God-given wisdom. Amen. Amen. Praise God. Praise the Lord. And he's saying hello to Ine. We talk to each other. This is a party here. This is a family here. And then this special guest that we have tonight. Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate this great person here who is here via her son. Let me pull her into this, and she is right here. There she is, Cindy. Oh, thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate it. I really do. And he's greeting you as well, your beautiful, beautiful son. Thank you so much. You have such an awesome son. You have done such a well. And it's not always that you have to see a person personally. You can get the vibe and get the feeling from an individual, that locks and sinks in, and you can tell where they came from, right? So again, despite even that, where our mothers have groomed us and fathers have groomed us, we travel out on our own. At some point, we get our head knocked against the wall. We make mistakes. What they said not to do, we do. We go through all of these different things and begin to backpedal and try to find information how we got to that place. And that's one thing I'm really concerned about, is for us to keep up with ourselves, to understand ourselves, because it's not how you start, it is how you finish. I said it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And that's why it's so important to be around people that celebrate you and not tolerate you, celebrate you in your weaknesses and in your strengths, celebrate you to get you to that place called there. And we're all going to a place called there. So tonight we're talking about bandwidth. Let's just see what the definition of emotional bandwidth is. Here we go. Emotional bandwidth is the ability to honestly catch up on your emotional state in life. We fool ourselves to be happy when we know we are not in a state of happiness. How many of you have ever done that? Let me just be the first to raise my hand. Humans have developed a tendency of fooling themselves by hiding emotions about what they feel. Now listen, I've been through that. I know what that's like. And that's something we have to really pay attention to, because out of being a habit, out of pressing through so many things in life, we become these people that don't stay in touch. All we know is I got to get through it. I have to get through it, without paying attention to internally what's going on. And so I wanted to share about that. So there's psychology bandwidth, there's communication bandwidth, there's so many, bandwidth situations, the mental health. There's so much. Bandwidth is the capacity. It's the capacity, the status inside, the information. We know that bandwidth is with cell phones. So that word can be applied to so many things, because it's an internal working. It's an internal frequency. It's a frequency. So do you know your frequency? Do you know what's happening in you? Do you understand that even if you've gone through some traumas in your life, some traumas or some traumatic experiences, yes, if you've gone through those things take root inside of you. Those things try to short circuit your bandwidth. It tries to short circuit the things that you have overcome. Sometimes you have to go back and read back and re-step back and try to figure out what is going on in me. I spoke to someone this morning and they sent me a text and they said, I'm so depressed and I don't know why. I don't know why. And I'm like, okay, let me get myself together and let's talk about that for a few minutes. And so after speaking to this person later on in the day, she admitted, not admitted because it wasn't an admittance, it was a conversation. And while I was praying this morning, I was saying, Lord, show us and reveal to us what that thing is that's triggering this person to feel depressed. Show us what it is, because we know it could be so many things, because life, keeps life in. And so I wanted God to release and show us what is it that we need to attack in the spirit realm to try to bring that person to a place of calm and resolve. Because obviously, if someone says, I'm so depressed, something triggered it, that something happened, something precipitated it. And I wanted to talk about just how these things happen. And after speaking with this person, and out of the clear blue, we're just chatting, and boom, we found the link of why she felt that way. As we're talking and conversing, I had asked God, show us, reveal it, expose it. Because when we pray, sometimes we pray amiss. And when we pray amiss, we miss the target sometimes. So when you know the very thing that the enemy is trying to tax you with, we have to target that thing, speak that thing, and take that head off of that thing. And so we found out today what it was, and eventually, immediately after we found it, it lifted. Because the answer, and all of us are looking for those answers inside of us, right? Putting your finger on that thing, like why I do what I do, why I keep doing what I do. You know, we need to find out. And it's upsetting when we feel a certain way because we're triggered in a certain way and we can't find out why am I feeling like this. But what happened today, I was so happy that the Lord revealed it, right? And then that person felt free and understood why they were feeling like that. And guess what they walked away with? The way to solve it, how to get out of that space. They got the answer. And we're all looking for answers. So have you ever gotten to the point, listen, have you ever gotten to the point where you say, I just can't take it anymore. I just can't. It's just too much. It's too much. You know, I mean, conversations, social media, family work. Have you ever felt overloaded? I have. And I have to sit with myself and say, okay, let's figure out how we're going to manage this. You can't just stop everything. But what needs to come off of the plate for a moment so that you can kind of tap into you, Sheila? The tapping in to yourselves gives you the victory. Eric says he has too. Vaughn says he has. You get the victory when you begin to tap into yourself. That's mandatory. That's mandatory. So too often we've been running in on fumes. Have you ever, has your car ever run out of gas and you're running on fumes and you get nervous? You don't know if you can make it to that gas station because you're on this highway, them North Carolina highways maybe, where you can't find, not these New York roads or streets, because you can find a gas station any and everywhere. But have you ever ran on fumes? Have you ever ran yourself to the point that you're running on fumes? Have you ever attached yourself to someone that's causing and depleting you, and you feel like your bandwidth is going to zero? We must pay attention to what we can contain and what we can manage at a particular time, because what you can manage today may not be something you could manage next week, because between today and next week, a whole lot of things can happen. A whole lot of things can happen with you. Uh-oh, I did it again. I did it again, y'all. I did it again. My battery. You're going to have to forgive me, and I'm going to have to be right back. Give me a second. Just give me a second. I did it again. I'm so sorry. I did it again. I am so sorry. Oh my God, I've been fumbling around with this new system and all the wires are everywhere. Forgive me. So what I want to know is, yeah, Vaughn, go ahead and, yep, I did it again. But listen, so is there a place and time or a situation that I was saying, like from this week to next week, anything is liable to happen, anything that you might not have the bandwidth to handle it with, right? When we lose loved ones, right? Oh my God, what happens with that? When things happen, when things happen, we have to adjust and know how to manage. The other thing that's very important for us to understand is to learn that no is a sentence, right? Because we could easily become people pleasers. Sometimes you can be a people pleaser and don't even know it, right? Sometimes you can actually be a person You're the go-to person, right? You're the go-to person. You're the person that maybe someone picks up the phone and calls. You're the go-to person when something happens in the family. You're the go-to person for friends. And then you get into this cycle of not feeling, or you don't exalt yourself. It's just that you have to step back and realize that these things that people have to tap into the Lord for themselves, and you pray together, but you can also help. But there are what I call, and you already know, boundaries. You must have boundaries. If you don't have boundaries, you're going to be in a world of trouble, like my mama used to say, a world of trouble. And I don't want that to be you. I don't want you to be in a situation where you explode, right? Because of the bandwidth that you're not aware of whether you have or you don't have. Not having boundaries, listen to me, not having boundaries is how so many of us have learned to demonstrate our commitment, right? You must learn, but I paid a serious price for learning about boundaries. Boundaries is toxic. This is toxic to our emotional, mental, and physical welfare. I said it's toxic. Toxic. Learning to say no is healthy. Learning to say no should be something we're comfortable with, and it become crucial to our mental stability. Learning to say no. And I know if you've been one to always say, yes, I'll do it. Yes, I can. Yes, yes, yes. You don't even know how to say no, because now you don't want people to feel upset. You don't want people to feel like you're rejecting them, right? But for your own safety, for your own mental health and physical and emotional health, we have to learn how to say no. There is none of us that has the bandwidth to always say yes to any and everything. We are not wired like that, to just be the one to hold everything, to be able to be the one. So we must be more discerning. Discerning is a good word for all of us to put in our vocabulary. Desire to be healthy on the inside. What is your bandwidth? Do you know it? Have you ever been in a relationship? Women, men, have you ever been in a relationship and it started out the gate so beautiful, so wonderful, right? And we say, the representative shows up on both sides, right? And it takes time to know people. It takes time to understand and see who you're with. Have you ever started out something with something that seemed so great and wonderful, but as it moved on and say you're this person that really is an achiever, that really is a visionary, a person who wants to succeed, a person that wants to grow with someone, and you find out midway that that person does not really want what you want. They started out the gate, but something happened in the middle of this thing that causes them to backpedal. Suddenly, you're still moving and growing. You love this person, you like this person, but they're here and you're here, and they refuse to come up. They refuse to meet you in the middle. Have you ever had a situation where you had to make a hard decision, a decision where you had to say, I have to get out of this? Because where I'm headed, this person does not want to go. Sometimes people say a lot of things with their mouths, and then when time comes, listen, then the thing just shifts, and what happens? It crumbles. And that means that even you or that person don't have the bandwidth for each other. Y'all don't, that capacity. People say a lot of times, well, Sheila, such and such and such. Why you this? Why you that? Why this? Why don't you have, why don't you get married again? Well, I know the bandwidth I have, and I know the capacity that I am as a woman, and I know that it takes a certain individual to handle my capacity, right? Because I know me. I'm old enough to know me, right? I'm old enough because what? I've gone through so many cycles and situations that I need to know me. I need to know this would be great, but you did this before. This is a repeat. This is not a good thing, right? Now, that's not to say that people can't change, because I say when nothing changes, nothing changes. Von Erich says he has. And so I think all of us have had situations that we either had to walk away from because we've seen and found out it was depleting us instead of putting in what? A deposit. Like, so if you find yourself constantly being withdrawn, no deposits, just no deposit. That ATM and you, click, 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 click. They just swiping your card, swiping you and swiping you, and they're receiving, 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 and they become takers, right? So we have to be mindful about being able to discern who's around us, especially those of you who are much younger than me, those of you who are still on this part of the journey in your 20s, 30s, and 40s, 50s, and 60s. We pretty much kind of know where we are. We pretty much done a lot of things, and we understand certain circumstances and experiences that we've gone through, that we kind of know, like, okay, that's not going to happen because I've been there before. And those of you who are walking into these new dynamics, there's a lot of challenges because today's society is so very different. I mean, like the priorities and the foundational principles, it seems like just went out the window. And that's why it's so important for us to always remember those sayings that your mom told you, your dad told you, or the person that raised you. Those jewels that they gave you will rise up in your life. They will rise up in your life. When you get older, you'll be like, wow, my mom said that. Oh, I remember that. Those type of jewels kind of stick to you. And so we have to remember to understand our bandwidth. And why do we say yes when we really want to say no? Somebody tell me, why do we say yes when we really want to say no? That's not healthy. That's not good. But we all have been there, I believe. I don't really think there's anyone who have said no all the time and meant no. That saying yes and wanting to say no, that's a serious situation. So the boundaries, again, are necessary to put in place when you are used to be being dependable, right? One, in any group setting, we all know that if we don't set these boundaries to take care of ourselves, we will be no good to anyone else. Exactly. If you're not internally healthy, then what do? We pass on. We pass on the very thing that we don't even really need to use, but we pass it on. You don't want to hurt. Let me put this comment up because this is true. I was waiting for someone to respond. Don't want to hurt the person's feelings. This is a big one. This is a big one. That is so true. And that'll get us so deep into some places that we don't want to get into. Because if that person is not worthy, if that person is not worthy of you, worthy of your time, worthy of who you are, then you have to think about you. You have to think about you, what someone is wanting from you, and listen, a lot of times we'll give, and it's not reciprocated, right? We don't get it back. Not that we do things to get paid back, but it's nice to be nice, correct? It is so nice to be nice. And so the boundaries and self-care is so important. We must have safeguards. Where's your safeguard? Where's your safety? Do you have a safety net of people that you could share a deep secret with? It may be one, it may be two, but is there a safety net in place? Because you can't trust everybody with your stuff, meaning your secrets, your life, your heartbeat, the cup of your life. You can't trust. You have friends for certain things. If you have friends, there's friends for this reason, although you're all friends. But you ever had a group of people, a group of friends, and everybody is cool with each other, but this girlfriend or this brother, you can't tell this particular thing to. But in the same group, there's someone over here that you definitely will call after you leave the group to talk to. Because again, people don't have the capacity to handle you, to handle your life. Those that say, I'm with you, I'm your ride or die, let something crazy happen. Let something crazy happen, especially in the church. Let something happen. Who's going to be there to pick you up instead of judging you, instead of talking about you? Who can you share your life with? And so it's very, very important for you to recognize the type of friends that are in your life, what capacity they have for you, or if they're just a wayward friend, right? Put them in that category, but put people in your life where they belong. Because in the long run, if you don't, you'll be hurt. You're going to be hurt. So safeguard to protect what little energy you have left when you feel overwhelmed. Safeguard your heart. Guard your heart. So why do we say yes when we really mean no? I'm going to tell you some conversations here, some reasons. Here's a couple of bullets. Wanting to maintain a certain image to others and themselves. I am unselfish, cooperative, accommodating. I am dispensable. Fearing the loss of something. Yeah. Believing that they cannot or should not say no. These are things that people get wrapped up into and trapped up into. So for women, we say yes because society has conditioned us to be agreeable. Did you get that? But for Black women, women of color, there are no other things at play as why we say yes when we really mean to say no. It talks a lot about Black women reclaiming their power by asserting themselves in various ways and saying no, learning how to say no. And so there's a connection of the BIPOC woman, right? Hindered ability to say no because of financial constraints, right? Let me just stay with me for a minute. Because Black women and many BIPOC women do not have the cushion that comes with the intergenerational wealth, or assets that many women of other nationalities, we talking about Caucasian women, have. So effective way. So long story short, look at it this way, that we have to deal with respectability politics in order to get labeled as if life is not stressful enough. So we as women in the workplace, we as women, period, have to jump through hoops and do certain things, which causes us to say yes to certain things that we really want to say no to. Even still, that is not enough reason to stand up. We got to stand up for ourselves and always create the boundaries. So here's some things that might be helpful to those of you and some that will come later and see this. I don't have the bandwidth for that right now. That says it right there. I don't have the bandwidth for that right now. Let's circle back to this one, right? Because I have a less, until I get less on my plate. So it's easy to say no, right? So it's not like you're being like a woman who is very harsh or strong in your speech and how you carry yourself, but we must learn how to say what we mean and mean what we say, where it's received. So I don't have the bandwidth for that right now. You can say that with a smile, right? You can say, let's circle back to this when I have less on my plate. That's a no. How about, I am too tired to absorb that information at this moment? Have you ever been mentally drained and someone wants to keep challenging your mind and talking and that's like sometimes on the phone, you got a friend that, like, okay, I want to hang, I got things on my mind, and that person just go on and on and on and on, and they go from one topic to the next topic. And you don't want to be rude, but you've already mentioned where you are in your space, but people want what they want when they want it. When they want your time, they'll usurp your time. So you and I have to bring up the no, which is a sentence. I am too tired to absorb that information. However way you need to say it. How about, let's stick a pin in it. I knew I used I use that. Let's stick a pin in this for now and think about revisiting it later. How about we do that? What is somebody going to say with that? Are they going to push against it? If they do, then you have to go another angle, if you know what I mean. I can't download what you are asking me to do. I can't download that right now. This is a no. This is a no. This is not a yes. This is a no. Thanks for reaching out to me, but I'm going to pass this time. Have you ever had to do that? Listen, I've been in so many situations, I'm telling you, where years ago, because of the singing, my life in singing, my music career, and always people wanting to have me come sing or have me come minister, which you love to do because you're a vessel for the Lord. But you can tell when the church is abusing the gift, right? You can tell. You don't have to be a singer to understand when church folk want to abuse the gift, right? Take advantage of the gift. Take $1,000 and $1,000 and $1,000 of offering and want to give you $50 in an envelope, and you done spent $150 to get to the church to do the thing for the Lord, right? So it's so many different scenarios that I have dealt with, dealing with not saying no, right? Because I didn't want to let them down. You know, the gift belongs to the Lord and all those things. But if that's my livelihood, and these people know that this is my job, this is my livelihood, that means they didn't care. And I'm not talking about an incident where there was no budget. I'm not talking about churches that didn't have it. That's cool. That's fine. You walk in, do your thing. Let God use you. Let God give the people what he wants to give them. And you keep moving, right? You know that that was something that God called you to do because they didn't have it. So you're a blessing. It's always good to be a blessing, right? But churches that have thousands in the audience, I mean, mega people, and they want you to minister, and you minister, and you see how the people get blessed by God using you, and then they turn around and skim off money from the offering and give you pennies, right? So I had to learn how to say, no, I'm sorry, I can't, do that today, because I got used to and I understood the movement of people. So I had to learn how to say no in a nice way, not in a negative way. Another scenario, when I was singing a lot and I used to get a lot of sore throats because I used to lead worship and do ministry here and ministry there, and I would get sore throats. I grew up having a lot of sore throats, and so I would try to even go to churches, and when they would say, well, can you come sing, and say they booked me, oh my God, and I get there and I know that I'm feeling sick that morning. I know the enemy has attacked me because he's always been on my back anyway. There's a target on my back, and I already know there's a target on my back in the spirit. I know that. And I would get to the church, and my throat would be closing. So listen, I would be so not feeling well. And then one day, I went, when I was getting a divorce, I had went to counseling, Christian counseling, and he was talking with me and sharing with me. And he said to me something that changed me totally. He says to me, so you mean to tell me that when these people ask you to come and minister and you're not feeling well, you still go? I'm like, yeah. He said, so let me ask you this. And this was something that rocked me. He said, so you mean to tell me if you don't show up, God's not going to move for his people? God's not going to show up for his people? So if you don't go, the move in the atmosphere is not going to happen. And that's not the place it was coming from me. But that obviously was something that appeared like I was unknowingly saying, like I had to be there. From that day on, that's when I started learning how to say, I'm sorry, I wish I could, but I can't. I have another engagement. Instead of running from one church to the next church to sing at the second church, when I could have just took the first church and just let it go. So you learn how to say no in the right way. You learn how to say no when you have to, and especially like someone my age and someone who has been through every type of denomination, not meaning a member of every denomination in churches, but I know church stuff. I know church stuff, trust me, from different, I'm not going to name denominations, but if you're a person that knows about church, you know about denominations, right? And so what I'm saying to you is, you have to know how to hold them, fold them. You have to learn how to say no. So another one is, unfortunately, at this time, I am unable to do that. But here are some people I can refer you to. I've done that. I can refer somebody. Listen, these are things that you can take and learn how to say no, a soft no in a nice way, where you could circle back around to that person. But my main focus right now is you. My main focus is your internal well-being, your mental. My main focus is your heart. My main focus is your physical. Hallelujah. That's my main focus. Honestly, I am not going to be able to give my best effort. There's another one. Someone asks you to do something or be a certain place, and you know that you don't feel that unction to go, or you know that that's not something you want to do, or what's the word today? Have the bandwidth to do, then you don't do it. Then you don't do it. I would love to help out, but I would be overcommitting myself, and that would not serve either one of us. I like that one. How about that one? I'm going to say that again. I would love to help out, but I would be overcommitting myself, And that would not serve either one of us. So now you're even bringing the other person in. You're not saying, oh, it's all about me. You're saying, listen, I can't give you my best. I would love to do it. And they're saying, but you can get it. You can do it. You can do it. No, no. I used to teach this, or not teach it, but share. I was a case manager. I used to outreach to homeless in New York City, under the bridges, everywhere. I worked in a men's shelter, and there were so many different dynamic cases with some of those men. It was an all-male shelter, and their stories, right? A lot of their stories dealt with what I'm talking about right now. They overloaded themselves with information. They allowed somebody else to come into their life and shatter them down where they weren't able to recover because they didn't have the bandwidth to go through some of the things that other men went through. You cannot compare how you're wired with someone else. Hey, Lady Navoa, you cannot compare yourself with other people. I used to talk to them and share with them and find out how did they get into this state of being homeless. There were businessmen. There were all types of people that found their way in these shelters from circumstantial situations in their lives that they either let someone else get them to that place and they didn't have the bandwidth to step back, or they just put themselves in that space. And so it's a teaching lesson. All of us are still learning, right? We're all learning. We're all, lesson learned. When we do something we know that we didn't benefit from, or we put ourselves out there and we shouldn't have, right? Because the end result did more harm than good. So what is your bandwidth is what I'm asking you. Who do you have the bandwidth to handle? What do you have the bandwidth to handle at this time? Right? Because as you sit and grow, you begin to stretch, right? Because you're maintaining your sanity. You're maintaining your health. You're maintaining your heartbeat. I want you to understand. Stop allowing yourself, right, to say yes when you want to say no. I am going to have to respectfully decline at this time. That's a soft no, but it's a no. So now when you're dealing with people and you're dealing with situations and in life, right, whether it's your job, whether it's your husband, your wife, you have to understand at that moment, do you have the bandwidth to challenge these things? It's a challenge, right? Mentally, sometimes you're just not there. You're just not there. You can't do it. You don't want to do it. But out of habit, you find yourself saying, yes, yes, I'll do it. Yes. And then you want to say no. Stop doing this to yourself. It is very, very important to have boundaries. It is very, very important to have boundaries. Boundaries is something you have to put in place for yourself. Understand how you're wired. Understand your strengths. Understand your weaknesses. Just don't walk around every day just like you're one just zone. You're not one zone. There are different streets and avenues inside of you. And this block inside may be the sensitive you. And this block on this side may be that strong you, that go-getter you. But you have to know where those areas are internally in you. And then that way you'll be able to manage your time and manage your life. Manage your time and manage your life. I don't have the bandwidth to do that in the next blah, 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 dot, dot, dot. Someone asks you to do a particular thing. I don't have the bandwidth right now to do that because maybe you overloaded in your head. Maybe you overloaded right now. You got some things going on in your life. Understand your bandwidth. That word bandwidth is so powerful. And if you think about the bandwidth that's inside the signals and the towers and the cell phones, and those are internal things that move the communication that goes on inside of all of these things that allows us to be where we are right now on this live, that allows us to have the cell phone. So if the bandwidth has to be strong enough, come on, your bandwidth is a signal inside of you that you need to understand and know and be able to move and manage in. Oh my goodness. I hope this is making sense. I hope this is making sense. Boundaries at work, burnout, dealing with coworkers, how to be more assertive, how to say no, personal bandwidth, self-care. This is what I wanted to share with you today. Know your bandwidth. Know the bandwidth, because you don't want to be overloaded. You don't want to short circuit. How many times have you short circuited your own self because you've allowed so much information coming in? I had to step back. I was on a lot of crypto platforms and involved in this, and trying to set things up, because we know that digital currency is getting ready to drop real hard on us. It's getting ready to drop. The dollar is going to deplete, and this digital currency is getting ready to drop. I'm telling you, and you probably already know this. And so we have to prepare ourselves with certain things. And I was dealing with learning about generational wealth, right? Having a wallets. I have like 3 or 4 crypto wallets. Put stuff in there, put certain crypto in there, and just let it sit, let it build for generational wealth purposes. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I need to go and can't. Nope, no, you don't. I deal with a stock situation where the stock that I'm involved with is not a U.S. country type stock. It's European, it's other countries, because our stock and system always crashes, right? So we have to be smart enough to know how to let things be working for you while you're sleeping. And like I said, generational wealth is so important. The famine that is upon us, that it seems like it's not, but it's creeping in. Anytime you pay, I always buy organic eggs, but I'm talking about persons that have children and people who just spend $2-3 on eggs. Anytime you go in a store and see $4, $3 eggs that are now $8, that's a signal. That's a signal. And so all of these things we have to, because the bandwidth that we're going to need to contain the information that we need. We know what happened with the Cash App guy. We know that he was in San Francisco and got deleted. We know about that. But in the same breath, and a couple of days later, FedNow opened up. FedNow, the new Cash App, where they're going to what? Take control. They already have control of us. So what are they going to do? Take control and create this scenario where we're going to really be at their beck and call. So we have to wake up. We have to wake up, even with the food. Cans of food, water, stock it up, all these different things. I'm not causing a panic or causing you to panic. I'm just showing you, like my mama used to say, the handwriting is on the wall. The handwriting is on the wall. So we have to pay attention to everything. It's sad when I see people in the supermarket with their children, 3 or 4 kids with them. 3 and 4 children hanging out, trying to buy this. She's looking at the price, something. She's looking. She was able to buy that, 6 months ago. But now her budget doesn't allow her to get that very thing that her kids enjoy. I'm stocked up. Listen, Cindy. Yes, and yes. I'm telling you, this thing is no joke. Canned food. Those of you who don't live in houses and homes, go and just find closets, cabinets, just put things away. Again, I'm not asking you to panic. I'm not saying to do anything, but I'm talking about your bandwidth is the capacity for the information and things that you need to know so that you don't just flake out. Because it's going to get really deep really soon in this U.S. of America. It really is. The United States is not favored well in certain places. It just isn't. You got China and Russia doing stuff. You got all these different things going on. And we need to pay attention. And you have to take care of your household. You have to manage your own life. You have to manage your heart. You are responsible. It's not like 10, 15, 20 years ago. Things are shifting. I opened up talking about the shift. Things shift when you were young, when you went from kindergarten to 5th grade. It shifted inside of you. The knowledge and the information became different. Then you went to middle school. Then you went to junior high. Some people have different terms of how they call the schools, but in New York is high school, junior high, whatever. And what happens is when you're not prepared, right? When you're not prepared for information, if you're not prepared to shift with the time, shift with the information that is coming at you now, you can't sit and twiddle your thumbs today like you did some years ago. Things are shifting financially, in terms of food. things are shifting and we need to pay attention. And sometimes we don't pay attention. Hi, Sir Hale. Thank you for being here. We need to understand what is going on. And so when time shifts, your bandwidth has to shift. What is your bandwidth today? What are you able to manage, right? Do you know how to say a soft no? Do you know how to say, I don't want to, stop saying, oh, I need to say yes. I know you need to learn how to say no. I gave you some pointers on how to say it and stop extending yourself so wide open that your bandwidth just collapse, right? Again, that word is so powerful. We internally have a bandwidth. You may not have the bandwidth to deal with what you're dealing with right now. You may be in a relationship that's depleting you, whether you're a female or a male, and you're trying to make this thing work, but maybe it didn't start out the gate correct. Maybe you didn't, do the checklist. Maybe you did. And maybe that person got to a certain part of walking with you and found out, oh no, I need to get off this train because she's going one way and I'm going another way. Because what? The bandwidth. What can you contain? What is it? What is it in you that you are collapsing in because you don't have the capacity to carry the information? What is it? Anybody want to come up to share? I will share the link if you want to come up and finish this conversation. Cindy says, I just hope they don't kick me out of Thailand. It's so much food I'm stocked up on. Wow, Cindy. Wow. Wow, that's awesome, Cindy. That's an experience. That is an experience living in Thailand. Oh, that must be really different. Really different, and I guess it is a beautiful place. So you just have to keep it on the low, Cindy, and don't expose yourself too much, right? Because I don't want nobody to come breaking down your door trying to get some food. That's for you and yours. You can share, but I didn't know you were in Thailand, and I thank you so much. We love your son here, Von Eric, in these YouTube streets. We love him so very much. So I just want to know. Here it is, Sir Hell is saying, an excellent question to self-evaluate. You have to self-evaluate because sometimes people looking for the answers in the wrong place or pointing a finger at somebody when it is you yourself. You've run out of the signal. The signal is flashing on the inside. Imagine the signal collapsing in our iPhones, on our iPads. Imagine the signal, the bandwidth being tampered with. What would happen to us? So that same bandwidth in terms of your personal being, those signals inside of us, you must pay attention to them. You must realize that how you're made and wired. And if you don't have the bandwidth for certain information or certain people, then back up. Regroup, restore. As I said, your bandwidth today may not be the bandwidth you have next week, because between today and next week, anything is liable to happen. And so you don't need to be depleted in the way. You need to have some built up so that when something does hit you, you have enough to what? Drive on. Oh my goodness. I do as well. She said, I do as well. We'll be praying for you. We'll keep you in my little prayer box here. I sure will. So I'm telling you, talking about this tonight, I really felt, I think this is a conversation that should be talked about more, because you can't talk about how is your bandwidth. And I didn't put the banner up because I got so into the conversation. Do you know your bandwidth? Do you really know it? Right? I had to learn it. Like I said, if you're in your 20s, in your 30s, in your 40s, life is still, you're experiencing things that I might have already walked through. Your 40s, your 50s, there's a different level of information that you can contain in those times of your life. Where you are now and where you're headed to is either going to stretch you, where the information is going to be powerful enough for you to get to that place called there. And if you're not paying attention to how you're wired, who's in your space and what you're doing, then you're in trouble. Because guess what? When the signal dies, it's going to die. And it's going to take a lot of work to get you back up again. So do you know your bandwidth is the question. I want to know. Do you know it? I've learned many lessons without even knowing how to check my bandwidth. Oh, I can handle it. I can handle it. I got this. I did it before. You're right. Keep living like that. I did it before. I did it before. I can handle it. I can handle it. Why do we say yes when we want to say no? Sir Hell is saying some people never know their bandwidth because so many people are people pleasers. You missed that segment, Sir Hale. We talked about the people pleasers. Yes, they overextend because they think that's love. Yes, yes, yes. We touched on that. We did, and you're absolutely right. And sometimes people don't even understand. They don't even understand what's going on internally. Like like I mentioned earlier, the example of someone that I spoke to this morning. Their bandwidth the signal just was going off, but they couldn't even put a finger on why. Because you lost contact with you, right? Other superficial things dominated the area. And sometimes we let the outside forces and the outside things totally consume us instead of realizing it's the internal peace that we need that's going to sustain us, that's going to move us to that place called there. I'm telling you, it's a time where things are shifting. We know about the financial state once again. We know about this Cash App, and I'm not going to get into that because that's a topic of its own. How this young, brilliant person is deleted, and then a day later or 2 days later, I don't know how soon it was, FedNow pops up. The new cat. Give me a break. It's so many. Pay attention. What are we doing? We have to pay attention. Let me see. He says, you calling me out. Dog hollering section over here. Oh my goodness. She's talking to Sahel. And so, listen, there's so much for us to pay attention to. There's so much when I even talked about the BIPOC, the women, when we talk about certain things, we talk about things so that we have understanding of where we are and what we're doing, what we need to do, how we're going to get through this. Black women and many BIPOC women do not have the cushion that comes with intergenerational wealth. It's so many things that deals with the bandwidth inside of, because many, I know in the corporate world, I've seen many that yes, 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 and they want to say no, and they want to say no. So that's what I have for you tonight. I thank you so much for being here. All of you who dropped by, thank you so much. I'm so happy to meet your mom, Vaughn. Bless her. I'll be praying for her over there in Thailand. I hope that this little chat with you gave you some information to bring some awareness to you so that you can stay on point with yourself and what's going on around you and in you, and the tide and how things are changing and things are shifting for all of us. So just be mindful that we just can't breeze through this thing. We have to be on point, and we have to know how to allow people in our space as well as get people out of our space, right? It goes both ways. So I thank all the Bravettes for being here with me today, and the Brave Brothers. Thank you so much, you guys. I love you so very much. Remember, when nothing changes, nothing changes. I wanted to just hold up my journal that I wrote. It's really a cool journal. All the prayers in here are prayers from me being on my knees. It's around 30 prayers in here. And then you have the journaling space. It's a lot thick journal, and there's scriptures, and it helps you write. But the prayers are really powerful prayers that the Lord, when I'm in prayer, when it comes up, I just record and then I post them. And so that this book, you can get this book. I can ship it to you, or you can go to Amazon.com. But if you want to do it directly to me and you like it, just go to Sheila Ingram Ministries Sheila Ingram Ministries at gmail.com, or go to www. It's right there under Bravo with Sheila. I didn't put that up tonight. www.sheila-ingram.com, and you can pick up this journal. So it's a beautiful journal with some beautiful prayers, and go ahead and just get it. As a matter of fact, let's put the little intro up for it. I love you so much too. Thank you so much. Thank you for always just being there. You just always, you have no idea. I was sharing with my family about you when I was in California this week. I just kind of got myself together. I was so terribly jet lagged and it was just crazy. I couldn't get myself together. So I'm getting better. I'm getting better. And I love you guys. You are so beautiful too, Cindy. You are beautiful as well. And so tomorrow at noon, I'll be on the Sheila Ingram Ministry broadcast channel, and we're going to be talking about something really, really, really good: the servant, the slave, and the king. We're going to chop that up tomorrow at noon. So stay tuned for that over there on the channel. Remember that I love you guys and to stay well. Remember, when nothing changes, nothing changes. So what do you have to do? I heard you. Keep it moving. You sure do. You better keep it moving. So let me go on, close this show out. I think I'm going to do a soft close right now. I love you. Mwah. Smooches. God bless you. And I'll see you again. Wait, another comment. I can't go when I see the comment. We will. Oh, Cindy, thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. Oh, my goodness. That's wonderful. I'm a happy camper. I'm back. I was off. It felt strange being off. But, you know, you got to do what you have to do. And we'll have Dawn back with us. Dawn is in school, my co-host. She's in school trying to get her doctorate degree, I think. And so Tuesday, she's locked down. So she'll be with us on Thursday. Anyway, God bless you. I'll see you soon. Let's do a soft closing. Mwah, smooches. Ciao.